So I just saw probably the most like generic, boring movie. It, and I've seen so many people talk about this movie online, like saying it's bad, it's horrible, and all that stuff. But like, I don't know how to feel about it because it just didn't feel like it was a bad movie. It definitely wasn't the worst movie in existence. It was just lackluster. Madam Web is the new Sony Spider-Man movie. Apparently, it was originally supposed to be in the Spider universe they're making, but it ended up not going to that point. So basically, it's now its own standalone movie. But I think my biggest problem with the movie is how much it hints to these like characters being these like spider heroes and being able to fight and save the day. We're never gonna get that, and if they were trying to sequel bait for this movie, which they probably were, we ain't getting a sequel, that's for sure. But the movie itself, it probably would have survived if it was part of the Spider Universe. We probably wouldn't get a sequel to Madam Web, but we would get the characters again, and we're never getting that because the movie is just not good enough for it to even like be that successful. A few years back or a year or so, we had Morbius was one of the other Sony anime or not anime, sorry, one of the other Sony movies that was set in the Spider-Man universe, and that was apparently a movie that was really bad. I never saw Morbius, but I know it was really bad or really good if you're a memer. But this movie here, I can't say it's bad. Right? It's really hard for me to say it's bad because I didn't hate every moment of the movie. What I hated was just how boring it was. Like we had hints and trailers, all this stuff of characters, like these characters being spider people and having powers. That doesn't happen in most of the movie. Most of the movie is literally just uh, teenage girls dealing with teenage issues and being chased by like a Spider-Man that is a villain. That's literally the entire movie. And the only time we see them as heroes is like in visions that Madam Web has. Now, Madam Web in the comics, her thing is that she does see things. She has like visions. Now, another thing in the comics is she's also an old lady. In this, she's not an old lady. She is just like a girl in her like 30s, late 20s. And in the end of the movie, she ends up becoming like the actual Madam Web by like going blind, and she's paralyzed and in a chair now, so she just doesn't have any like mobility. So now she's exactly like what the pretty much what Madam Web was supposed to be. The only thing she isn't is an old lady. Now, she wouldn't even be an old lady when these girls become these like spider people, because she would just be probably in her 40s or something. She wouldn't be this old lady. I don't know much about Madam Web, to be fair. I thought she was Aunt May or something, like a variant of Aunt May with powers. I don't think she is, but I don't know. Regardless of that, I don't know. This movie, to me, I just didn't know how to feel about it through the entire movie. For like the first 30 minutes, I was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, where's the part to where you gotta really hate it? Like so many people are saying they hate it. Where do I hate this movie? Nothing's happened yet. Let's see. It goes further on. I still don't see where to hate the movie. The movie itself just was boring. It was bland. It wasn't the worst movie of all time, but it was bland. And that's all I felt through the whole movie. There was one point in the movie where they tried to do the great power comes great responsibility type of thing, but it was like they worded it a different way and it just sounded really like bad. And then there was another moment in the movie where they're like, man, he's like a spider person, like the guy that was chasing them when they were reacting to it, trying to figure out what he was. And they were saying he was a spider person. I almost expected the movie to just like stop. One of the girls says, or a Spider Man, and then they look at the camera and wink. That's what I expected in that scene. Also, there is a lot of like Britney Spears songs in this movie. I don't know why. I guess she was popular around when the movie's set because it's set in 2003. I know at one point this movie was supposed to have like Tobey Maguire or the other Spider-Man like shown, but the problem with it was is that like they said it just takes place before those Spider-Men, so they wouldn't have them. I heard that, which I think they just did it because they didn't want it to be associated with their universe because they knew how like sad this movie would be. And like I said, I don't hate the movie, and I don't think it's the worst movie ever. I just think it's boring, and I think a boring movie probably is worse than a bad movie because it's not so bad it's good. It's literally just bad, but like it's it, it's a bad that's not like horrible bad, but just like more boring bad. It's so hard to explain what this movie was to me. It boggled my mind. But anyways, the point is here, uh, this movie I feel compared to all the things that people say about it, saying that it's like this worst horrible movie, it gives you this anger. I don't think it's as bad as people say. It's definitely not like this horrible, disgusting, like abomination of art and media. It's not that. But it is just boring and bland and not worth watching because you don't get anything out of it. I think this movie would have benefited a lot more if it just, worked with the whole there's spider like this there's spider people and they had their powers already instead of doing introducing their story of Madam Web and how she became this leader of these three girls because none of them have powers. They don't explain how they get their powers. There's no explanation. Like Madam Web, it makes sense how she got her powers. She got them from birth, from like her mom being bit by a spider or something, and that's how she got her powers. There's no explanation to how these girls get their powers in any way. Did they just let the spider bite them? And then if that's the case, not only that, the spider gives a specific power. So like if the spider gives a specific power, why is it that these girls are now having these other powers that they're showing and hinting to? So it can't be the same spider biting them, it has to be a different spider. But then at the same time, they do give different powers, but don't. Because one thing that confuses me here is the villain in the movie has powers and visions of what will happen in the future, more specifically how he's going to die. And then Madam Web, also bit by a spider, has visions of the future, but they come more frequently. So like, is that just the only like returning factor of the power is just seeing the future? Because the rest of the rest of the characters, they show only hints of them having these like so that you do get new powers. I shouldn't say that you don't get new powers. You do get new powers, but then they also get the same powers. It's confusing. I don't get it, and it doesn't really make logical sense why this strange, interesting, weird spider is a spider that gives these like crazy powers. Because not only that, the whole point of the idea of like a spider bite and these spiders was that they were radioactive, right? They weren't this like mystical like jungle spider you'll find. They were literally just science experiments. Those are a lot more interesting than this hidden tribe with like its spider powers. It I don't know. This whole movie, it just feels weird, and it doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. It literally just feels like a fan fiction that someone made. It doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing how bad the movie is because my brain can't comprehend half of the plot points because they don't explain them well. They don't. It's just constant nonsense throughout the whole movie. Them running, them hiding. We get some action scenes that could be seen as cool. But most of the time, it's not action scenes. It's just them running and going on a road trip kind of thing, trying to hide from this guy trying to kill them. Not only that, the villain probably could have easily stopped this entire thing if he just said, yeah, these girls are going to kill me in the future. How about you don't do that? Because there had to be a legitimate reason they wanted to kill this guy in the future in his premonition. Which I gotta say, this whole movie feels like a Final Destination, right? Like, because she has premonitions of people dying and stuff like that. I don't know. This movie, I feel like I wasted like almost 2 hours of my time. Regardless of that, that's basically all I have to say about this movie. It's made my brain hurt. Bye.